And I turned the video off, so it should be on. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mayor and Council meeting for Monday, July 8th. Everyone, please rise for a moment of silent prayer. Joe, you want to lead us in the flag salute, please? Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting complies with the Open Public Meetings Act by notification on December 21st of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by posting of same on the municipal bulletin board and borough website, and filing a notice of the same with the municipal clerk. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Steve. Here. Councilman Canigo.
Here.
Councilwoman Davis. Present. Councilman Gautier.
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman. Here. Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mignon.
Present. We're going to jump ahead tonight. We've invited Joe Maggiore here this evening, and I wanted to start by saying that, sorry, I'll take care of that, man. Hold twice. You know, the term hero is often casually tossed around, but in truth can be applied in many different contexts. However, to identify a true hero does not require a definition. Those people evoke instant recognition and they exude a certain presence. The legacy of heroes, as Benjamin Disraeli said, is the memory of a great name and the inheritance of a great example. Tonight it's my honor to recognize a man who is a living legend of almost mythical proportions in River Edge. A man who is known by generations of River Edge residents, from the most senior among us to children in grade school. A man who at public events is besieged by parents and children alike just to say hello, thank you, or to take photos. A man who has inspired many and continues to inspire us all. A man whose humility, gentle nature, and warm presence is founded on a core of integrity, decency, courage, and dedication to causes greater than himself. He is a man of the greatest generation, and one we are blessed to have known. He is a great American patriot, a phenomenal human being, and an inspiration to me personally, and to countless others. I cannot think of a more worthy recipient for a You Inspire Award than our very own beloved Joe Maggiore. Joe, thank you for everything you've done for me personally, for the success of the borough, and the success of our nation.
Want to say anything, Joe? It's up to you.
I want to thank you all for this here, and I'm surprised again this award, and I appreciate it very much. And I thank you and my family. Thank you.
More than welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. No, thank you for coming, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks, Joe. God bless.
We have a motion, please, to approve Resolution 19-254 to go into closed session and exclude the public for the following topics: litigation, disability rights of New Jersey, accessibility and curb cuts, Fire Department Procedure Report, DPW Negotiations Update, Contract Negotiation, DPW Acquisition, and Contract Negotiation, New Bridge Landing Apartments.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Closed session, we will reopen in work session.
Mayor, my wife is monitoring Channel 30.
Should we open it? Okay.
Yes.
We're on. I got it. Are we gonna skip over it? Are we gonna skip over it?
No, I'm going to just go through
Just go right through it?
I don't want to come back. I knew Peggy was coming, so we made sure it was cool. There's a lot of hot air in here, and it's still cold, so we're doing okay.
Yep. Move it over.
Why I need the chair? I turned it off because we're in closed session. We are reopening into work session. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Steve? Here. Councilman Kanigo?
Here.
Councilwoman Davis? Present. Councilman Gaudier?
Here.
Councilwoman Kosman? Here. Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mignon?
Present. I just want to run through the work session items fairly quickly, so we can just get into the regular meeting and not have to go back to the work session. So we have four Borough Administrative Topics. Mr. Florio?
Yes, sir. Several months ago, or I'd say about a month ago, and the quote is actually included in your packet, we were put on notice by our elevator company that the elevator behind us was going to go ahead and need significant repairs, in upwards of $20,000, which is not currently a line item within your budget. The thought process that myself and the CFO had, since it was due in the November time period, was that we would handle through transfers come the November time period and handle it that way. This past Friday, we had issues with the elevator where it stopped working. We basically closed down the elevator for now, and what the thought process was of trying to fix it in November may become more a process speeded up much more quickly. Your CFO and I will evaluate what some of the potential options are associated with this, and I will keep you in a loop on it. However, I don't have an answer for you tonight, seeing how we just got that information.
But it's these elevators back here.
Correct.
So we used to have a ramp that used to bring from the dais level down. Can't we just do that for the time being, and we still have an accessible route?
Certainly can look at that.
Anything else?
Number two, I included in your packet, you asked me to go ahead and work out some solutions with the Boy Scouts to be able to put a storage center down at KGB. Your attorney put together a contract or a licensing agreement allowing them to be able to do that. Without objection, I'd like to add that to the consent agenda for the public meeting.
That's 19264, correct?
Correct.
Is that
Is
on
there,
the revised one?
no, it's not.
Oh,
We're going to have to edit. Is there a motion to?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, 19264. Two other items. We had a conversation maybe a month ago regarding a generator for the community center and library. Councilman Papaleo asked me to go back and discuss with our OEM coordinator his thought process on it. I met with him. He is 100% in support of it. Your engineer, myself, Public Works, the library director, recreation, 10 of us went out there and looked at the possible locations. It seems that the one that makes the most sense is behind the library, and I'll ultimately provide you guys with some additional details associated with that. We're waiting on the load analysis from our architect
to tell us the size so we can go ahead and start getting some pricing with that. But it seems that it makes sense to go ahead and do it, and we would go ahead and when the state finalizes the library grant, it would be part of the application for the library grant. That along with some other HVAC improvements and some other things along the line. So unless anybody has any objections, that's really the direction that I plan on heading with that, and as I continue to get updates, I will continue to keep you posted. On the last item that I have on my agenda is, I know there's been several conversations regarding the kitchen over at the community center and the different services that we potentially provide in that new kitchen. I don't think council ever finalized what their intent is of what they wanted that kitchen to be able to do. Right now it's set up basically as a galley kitchen. On the white copy I gave you are the dimensions of where that kitchen is set up, or the dimensions of the kitchen. It's 21 by 7, so it's kind of long but really narrow, galley style. If it's the council's desire to do anything additional other than heating up pizzas in there, and the conversation came up about the food program, you would need a larger kitchen. In meeting with our architect and with our recreation director, the thought process would be, and that's why I gave you a copy of 2 drawings, the thought process would be you would eliminate the chair and table storage, which then now would give you at least a 21 by 14.
Also my picture.
Oh, okay, you're saying eliminate.
You would eliminate that wall, and then that would be the kitchen. And then on your colored picture, this was a rendition that was done, one of the renditions that was kicked around on the left-hand side, where you now have the storage room, supply closet, women's bathroom, men's bathroom, and a smaller conference room. So really, all you're doing is you're shifting that storage over to the left-hand side, and you're shrinking down that meeting room a little bit. So if that's your intent, that you want to do more than just heat up pizzas, that's the suggestion that your team has come up for you, and we'll go from there, whatever you guys want to talk about.
Question. It was my understanding the team room is no longer part of the plan, that instead it will be combined with large meeting room. Is that correct? Correct. The large room will be partitionable. Yeah. The storage, you're saying, we'll simply get rid of the table and chair storage, or we're simply, the storage that's over here will simply become the table and chair storage? What we're going to use the storage room on the south side for previously? No, this one. It would have been for miscellaneous supplies, office supplies, things like games or whatever else, things that for day-to-day activities. I think our director has indicated that they may not need as much room for those kind of items. And would the storage room and supply closet be combined as one room instead of partitioned?
We didn't have it delineated that way. It's certainly feedback that I can get from our director of recreation and see her thought process on it. Really was what we were more looking to try to accomplish was how to increase your square footage or your kitchen, if that's what you're saying.
And would this hallway disappear? Would we be getting rid of the partition wall between the community room and the men's room, women's room, supply closet, and storage closet?
We have not had a conversation on that. That's something that we certainly can have a conversation on. Again, it was really how to create additional storage space in the kitchen.
And I'm simply bringing it up because we've entered into this conversation. Yes, and that's all fine. The issue with the kitchen, I agree. Once we have it that size, we don't have to make that decision right now whether it's going to be a cooking kitchen or a heating kitchen. There aren't too many requirements that make it different. It's things that once the architect designs it, we can put in as an alternate, put in a stove and a venting system and the electric for it. That would really only be the main difference between a cooking kitchen and a non-cooking kitchen. So it's whether we have the same and the same, but we're talking about minor plumbing, electrical. It's not a major thing, so you don't have to commit to that right now.
Can I ask a question? Can we talk about that covered patio again?
one second, I'll go back one.
Well, I mean, it's part of this conversation.
Well, no, I know, we'll get back. One other thing. The other decision I think that needs to be clarified is there seems to be some lack of clarity as to whether the intent of the council is to make the large room partitionable. Our architect has recommended against doing that, but I think there is some sense on the council, and for myself too, it still may be something we want to look at, and it could be something we look at as an alternate also, just to have that flexibility, because the last thing we want to do is have a big room that gets through, can only be used for certain events, and you can't make it smaller. So I think that's something that we want to talk to the architect about also. Yeah.
So, going back to that covered patio, when we initially had discussed the idea of a covered patio, it was an idea that a covering would go around the community center, the entire community center, so there would be some shelter from the elements. Eventually it got changed to this covered patio, but that's when there was still a lawn in front of it. Now there's no longer a lawn in front of it. I don't see a lot of people wanting to hang out next to a parking lot. We lose a lot of space. We move one wall over, the 21 feet or whatever it is, and then just build an extra wall. I can't see how much more one extra wall would be. And that gives us a whole bunch of other space. Then we can add a small office if we want to. We can keep the chair and table storage, and we can greatly enlarge the kitchen. And what do we lose? I mean, think 10 years down the line, you're going to have this patio. It's going to be this concrete slab that nobody uses. Maybe some junk is going to be stored out there, here and there.
So I was an advocate for it. I see the wisdom of what you're saying, Councilman Canigo. But if we're going to do that, then what I would recommend is we move the storage, the kitchen east or towards the front, leave the large planting room the same size, and now create an even bigger rectangle.
Yeah.
And if we push the far wall, then we make it even, we could add what looks like 21 feet 6 inches to the right. We can add, 5 feet to the left, and then make that as a rectangle where the prep kitchen and the storage room would now be where the team room is, and move forward. So that's something we can think about. We're there.
You can, but it's not going to be a zero net sum. You're probably looking at $100,000 cost to add that extra square footage in terms of construction. So I would suggest that we have the architect look at that. Maybe there's other ways he can maybe shift some of the inside walls to lower the coverage. But the patio is going to cost us $50 a square foot to build, but the room itself may be $250. So we're going to still have to pay that difference for the new construction.
I mean, we're building it once.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that
My
it's
thought
just,
process is do it right from the beginning.
I agree with you. I think it was, the idea there was, because the original plan, if you remember, we had open lawn.
Right.
And
So
you
then you
don't
had
have that
patio
anymore.
space, and you could
Yes.
play on the lawn, kids could be...
That's
right,
not
but
there.
so-
It sort of lost its utility, so it would be better. But again, we'd have to look at the impact on the cost. But I'm sure that's
So
something he can be pretty simple.
So my takeaway from this is, it's not objectionable. Number one is, council does not have a problem if we do what I had suggested as option A. And again, before we do anything, I'm going to come back and talk about it, but option A would be to eliminate that wall and move over the supply closet. And then number two is for me to do some research to understand what the cost would be to enclose that covered patio. And then now that we have that additional space, we can take a look at potentially how best to utilize that covered space, if that's a dollar amount that the council is willing to spend.
And could we get rid of that wall?
Well, then we have to move the bathroom, or how you...
No, the bathroom's right where it is.
Well, you have the doors then right into the room.
Yeah.
You want to remove that hallway and have the bathroom door be inside the
Yeah,
meeting
no, I
room?
wouldn't do that.
But if you have one meeting over here and you're meeting, there's another separate meeting going on in the other room,
Listen,
and they have to walk through the other meeting to get
Getting prices doesn't cost anything. So I think I can gather that information for you guys to go ahead. And then at that point in time, this is in, this is out, however you want to do it.
Well, especially because in the library, this is where the bathroom is.
Yes.
So if we move the bathrooms to there,
Move the bathrooms there, yes, but you still don't want to have the offices.
Bathrooms are there. Well, this is the bathroom.
So our professionals can provide us
Yes,
with
yes.
some options
Yes.
based on what we've discussed.
We have enough information, you have enough
Ray has
information?
I have enough information.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
And you asked us about partitioning too, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
the partitioning of the meeting room.
Yeah.
I understand my marching orders.
All right, very good. And we have one item for discussion, Girl Scouts use of the public safety meeting room. Councilman?
I'll tee it up for the councilman. The councilman had called me and asked us what is the potential if the Girl Scouts could go ahead and use our meeting room right across the hallway here. I personally have no problems with it. But I said, let's go ahead and bring it over to the council, let the full council go ahead and have a conversation. If the council is on board with it, the professional staff will work out some of the logistics associated.
Yeah, not just the Girl Scouts,
No,
the
I
Boy
just said-
Scouts wanted to use it, any
Like
like that.
I had a conversation with the council also. We just need to, council's come up with a policy on how we're going to allocate use of this room, and then maybe get some impact, or some suggestions from the chief of police about security and things like that. What hours can this be? How do people access the room? How do we know who's here? Those kind of things. But that's all policy-based. I think that's something we could certainly...
And the thought process, this was really for temporary until the community center.
Yes.
And once the community center is built, then it would all go there. But again, talk to police, to insurance, there's a couple different factors. But before I went through all of that, I just wanted to know where council felt on that topic.
There,
Through.
Is there a consensus of the council that we should explore this option? Oh, yes. So moved. All right.
I will report back to you.
All right. I'm not going to give a report right now. Any unfinished business? Under new business, since this is probably effectively my final council meeting, there were a couple of items I've been working on that I want to just bring to council's attention and maybe with you guys to see if you want to pursue it or not. The first thing, and you have copies in front of you, is I put together a member's handbook for our boards, commissions, and committees. Basically, I cut and paste from a lot of towns with similar work. Basically, it lays out the responsibilities of being on a board, things like responsibilities of the chair to make sure that we have proper minutes, that they're voting and approving their minutes, they're delivering the minutes to the administrator, to the clerk. There's some sketch outlines of an attendance policy, which we have talked about for a long time. It's not in a final shape, but at least I think there's a good amount here to go forward if that's something the council wants to pursue. But I just want to make sure you have the documents before I lost it.
Thank you for putting so much work into that, Mayor.
Do you have an electronic version of
I
it?
couldn't find it, so...
You can scan it. Great.
The other two was, there's two programs that have been used by multiple municipalities now that are basically geared towards lessening the property tax burden on taxpayers by utilizing local businesses. There's two approaches. One company sets up, which is essentially a debit card, but if you use it within certain businesses in town, you get a certain percentage off, and that money is a dollar-for-dollar reduction in your property tax. The second option is more like when you get like your CVS card or your ShopRite card. If you go to certain businesses, you will get a certain amount of reduction. That way, the points are actually accrued through the borough with their software system, and also then they get an offset of their property tax. There's very little startup cost for this. You're probably looking at several $100s, and I'm sure that we get businesses to probably sponsor some of that. What I'm told, again, it's not significant, not necessarily insignificant, but people in other towns have saved maybe $400 or $500 on their taxes by shopping local. So to me, it's a good way, lower taxes, but also encourage people to use local businesses. And again, I just laid out a general plan of how I was approaching this. And, the first step, I think, is to maybe have a talk with some of the business owners, talk to the Chamber of Commerce, see how they feel about it. There's a couple of the towns that have been doing some of these, reach out to them, see how it's been working. And again, I've put these guys off for a long time because I wanted to make sure that I did enough research and that I looked into other towns. And some towns are having success with these, so it might be time for us to at least consider it and see if something we can do. And every little bit will help, I think, in terms of property tax relief. So I leave these for whoever would like to carry that charge forward. Any other new business?
I just wanted to mention, we don't really have local news at this point in this town. And I tried to see if we could do something with a journalism class at Riverdale High School, but not enough people signed up for that for the covered fall, so there is no journalism. They're doing other media classes. But Ramapo College has a whole range of classes that they give, including community news. And they also already have a lot of joint ventures with a couple of NJ Record and a couple of TV stations. So I was wondering if we couldn't try calling them to see if they want to do some kind of joint venture with us. Maybe we could pay the students a stipend. Maybe we could get it to the town through the Nixle emails. So just wanted to maybe make a call to Ramapo to see if we could do something.
It's a good idea.
We definitely need more local news.
And just, I was going to talk about it at the beginning of the next meeting, but people are getting direct news as we speak. Because the first time we are now live on public access television in River Edge. Right now we're on Verizon Channel 33. Mr. Besnick and Mr. Goldsmith over there are helping airing our meeting tonight. The work session is almost like a test case to see how it looks, and he's going to play around with the viewing angles and things like that. And hopefully this will be the start of us getting all the meetings being televised regularly. It's been something that's at least 10 years in the making, because I ran on this, my first campaign in 2010. So to see that we're actually live tonight it feels like we finally made that step forward. And I think getting information directly to the public will be the best way for them to get clear, unfiltered, and correct information, as opposed to the hearsay that we often see so much. So anything that improves communication with the residents is a good thing. Any other new business?
I received a request from a Oradell resident, Marissa Schoenberg, who held a basketball clinic. I believe, Mayor, you were there, as part of her Gold Award project for special needs children and differently abled children. She's asked to come before the council to share with us how it went and some suggestions and ideas for possibly extending our special needs and differently abled recreation programs here in the borough. So I'd like to have her scheduled for our August meeting. I'll forward to our borough administrator her contact information, and also ask whether Carolyn and or someone from the commission could participate in her or hear her discussion. If everyone's okay with that.
It was a really neat little clinic, and I think I mentioned this after I had been there. The girls had so much patience for the kids who were trying to learn, and you can see how quickly they advanced on little small skill steps, and how enthusiastic and happy it made them. And it really looks like it could be a good program to expand further. So I think she did a very good job, and I think it's something that we can build off of. So I think it's very worthwhile to have her come in.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Seeing no more new business, a motion open to the public.
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're open to the public for any questions or comments regarding our work session. We will have 2 opportunities to address the council in the regular meeting. Seeing no one, motion to close, please.
Oh.
Mr. Bisnick.
I just wanted to follow up on what you have said relative to getting more information out to everyone. You guys have also purchased a server which can operate a bulletin board to allow people to see what's going on. You can post a lot of that stuff there, so when people start regularly watching the channel, they can see what's going on. Plus, I have, over the past few years, trying to establish a regional way of getting news out to people. Oradell has been trying to expand a little bit more. I've been helping Washington Township out a little bit, and also Montvale. Montvale is trying to, at this point, having at least a once-a-month town meeting, which I think is very good for everybody, so you have a dialogue between the public and you. We have aired a couple times, although I'm pushing for our mayor to go further with it, to have an Ask the Mayor segment. So if people have questions, they can actually come up and give their feelings as to what is good and what's bad and what should be changed. I think you guys at this point have a very good possibility to be able to do that with what has been purchased, and every year expand upon it a little bit more, and I think you will grow with it and come to enjoy it as much as we're trying in Oradell. We program our station for 24 hours a day. With the new server, you can program anything you want at any time, and you can repeat it or do it once. You have something that is very valuable to the town, and I hope the next council, when Mr. Mignon leaves, decides that this is for the good of River Edge. And I'll offer myself to be made available if you would like to pursue anything relative to getting it working. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, motion to close, please.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion to adjourn work session and go to regular session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned for work session. Do we need a break or we'll just go right in? Ready? Yep. Ready, Nick?
Yep.
Lights, camera, action. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the River Edge Mayor and Council for Monday, July 8th. Can I ask everybody please rise for a moment of silent prayer? I guess my wife and son to lead us in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on December 21st of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by posting of same on the municipal bulletin board and borough website, and filing a notice of the same with the municipal clerk. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bastigue? Here. Councilman Kamigo?
Here.
Councilwoman Davis? Present. Councilman Dodier?
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman? Here. Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mignon.
Present. Motion, please, for the approval of the regular session minutes of June 24th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Under proclamation of the award, there is a notification that we had an award for Joe Magiri. Joe actually had come earlier this evening, so we had presented his award at the beginning of our work session. Just following up a little bit on the public access TV, I do have two certificates I'd like to present this evening to both Nick and to Bruce. Nick has been invaluable in bringing us to this point where we're actually on the air, and I think it's kind of a funny story because prior administration, prior mayors, prior council people who I spoke to about putting TV or getting government access, I said, Oradell has a great program, why can't we work with them? And they said, oh, no. We tried and you know, we're pretty much on our own. So just maybe 3 years ago, I was down at the League Conference in Atlantic City, and there was a class on local public access TV. And I happened to get in there late. And who's speaking but Nick? And I didn't know who Nick was, but I hear him talking about Oradell and towns around here. So finally, I walk up to him at the end and I introduced myself. And he goes, it's about time. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I've been offering for years to help you guys out, and nobody comes and takes me up on it. And I said, well, that wasn't my impression. He goes, no. I'll help whatever you want me to do, I will do. Even so much as coming today, actually came on Friday when it was 115 degrees in here, looking at the wiring. He was here this afternoon. And just, Nick is, he is Mr. Public Access Television. and I said I encourage the council to go look at the setup they have in Oradell. Nick actually has a real set. Desk chairs like you see on the TV with the news, it's amazing, and the amount of equipment he has. Nick is a professional, he's a cameraman, he's also a...
Engineer.
He's an engineer, but he's also a 7 or 8-time Emmy nominee, and he won 3.
Right.
And he's won 3 daytime Emmys for his camera work. So we're honored to have someone of that caliber helping us and actually setting us up tonight and getting us through this. And Nick actually has his own company now, but you also work with the JAG, I understand. Not Nick. Bruce works with the JAG as the JAG is the
Jersey Access.
Jersey Access, which is basically a trade association for all the towns that have public access television, which we will be joining and being participants of. The other thing Nick didn't mention, he mentioned we have our server, but we also subscribe to this TelView service, which allows us to have access to a lot of different public domain content to fill up the dead space on our airtime. So, you know, you all have your assignment to come up with your own shows, and coffee with the administrator. Listen to our borough attorney can opine on, maybe do like a people's court kind of thing. I don't know, but there's a lot of good content, and I think. And also had asked Councilman Bartoloni to be here this evening because he had also been one of the spark plugs and the reasons we got as far as we did. He worked a lot with Nick to get the equipment specified and get it all installed. And hey, we're finally there. So Nick and Rose. We just have some appreciation to giving gentlemen, and it's basically we're thanking you for assisting the borough in our effort to launch government local public access program. Bruce. Thank you. Thanks to Stephanie and Judy who respond to my whims and ask me to print certificates out like 5 minutes before a meeting starts. So thank you for that. Okay, Councilwoman,
Want to do this now?
you want to go through the rest first?
It's up to you.
No, we'll go through the rest.
If Cheryl and James okay.
Yeah. We have a pretty straightforward agenda. Motion to the public. Open to the public for comments on the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're open to the public for questions or comments on any specific agenda item. We will have another opportunity to address the council at the end of the meeting. Seeing no one, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appointment personnel changes. Motion, please, to approve the salary increase of Michael DeSantis, park attendant, from an hourly step 2 rate of $21.35 to step 3, $22.48, effective June 6, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve the salary increase of Paul Insignia, crossing guard, from an hourly step 1 rate of $18.51 to step 2, $19.54, effective June 20th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve the salary increase of Kevin Joyce, fire inspector, at an hourly step 1 rate of $23.88 to step 2, $25.20, effective July 22nd, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one piece of correspondence on our agenda. It's our revenue report from our CFO. Copy is in the packet, also available through the clerk's office. We have no monthly reports on file this month. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 ordinances on for public hearing this evening. Madam Clerk, please read ordinance 19-15 by title.
Ordinance 19-15, ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Chapter 400, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Subject 14, Ambulance Port Parking Spaces.
This ordinance is amending our parking ordinance to allow street parking for, or dedicated street parking for ambulance corps members because of the ongoing construction at the American Legion parking lot. Is there a motion to open this, open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastidt? Yes. Councilman Kamigo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman? Yes. Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
We're open for public comment or questions regarding ordinance 19-15. Seeing no one, motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Let's do a roll call. Can I just do voice on this one? Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastidt? Yes. Councilman Kamigo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman? Yes. Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
And is there a motion to adopt ordinance 19-15 on second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastidt? Yes. Councilman Kamigo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman? Yes. And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Ordinance 19-15 is adopted. Ordinance 19-16, Madam Clerk, please read by title.
Ordinance 19-17, an ordinance amending and supplementing the general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge, Chapter 296, noise, subject to prohibited acts definition.
And this ordinance is basically to clean up some language in our ordinance to be consistent with language that's in the state statute governing performance guarantees under the municipal land use law. Is there a motion open to the public on ordinance 19-16?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're open to the public for any comments or questions regarding ordinance 19-16. Seeing no one, motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve ordinance 19-16 on second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor,
Yes.
maybe I mistook it. Did she read 1916 or 1917?
Picture at 17.
I think she read 17.
Yep, I did. I read 1917.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't know. Because I was thinking about what I was going to say. I want to discuss the dog barking ordinance,
Let's
so
start again.
let's start over.
Ordinance 19-16.
It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 350-39 of the Borough of River Edge zoning code or zoning ordinance entitled Performance Guarantees.
So this is again to make language in our current ordinance consistent with state statute regarding performance guarantees under the municipal land use law. Is there a motion to open for public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're now open to the public for comments or questions on proposed ordinance 19-16. Seeing no one, motion to close, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve ordinance 19-16 on second reading.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastidt? Yes. Councilman Kamigo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman? Yes. And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Ordinance 19-16 is adopted on second reading. I'm going to skip to 19-18. Read by title, please, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 1918 is an ordinance amending Chapter 216 of the Code of the Borough of River Edge and providing flood damage prevention regulations as amended.
This was in response to Hurricane Superstorm Sandy, where FEMA had modified a lot of the flood maps and determined new flood elevations for certain areas. River Edge is not affected by the changes in the maps, but there are regulations that we still need to adopt so the borough can participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, and this is what this ordinance codifies. The motion to open to public on ordinance 19-18.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Open to the public on ordinance 1918. Seeing no one, motion to close, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1918 on second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastidt? Yes. Councilman Kamigo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Ordinance 19-18 is adopted on second reading. And lastly, ordinance 19-17, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 19-17 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge, Chapter 296, noise, subject to prohibited acts definition.
What this ordinance is intending to do is to provide some quantitative guidelines for allowing the public to report and for the borough to respond to noise complaints as it relates to what's defined as incessant dog barking. Is there a motion to open to the public on ordinance 19-17?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Open to the public on ordinance 1917, if anyone has any questions or comments. Seeing none, motion to close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 19-17 on second reading?
Before we move...
We'll do discussion after the, we'll do the motion.
Has to be moved by
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Okay. I don't think this ordinance as written actually accomplishes what we're trying to do. And I've got a number of comments on it. Some are picky, admittedly, but I think some do have some strong issues that need to be addressed. So I'm just going to start with, just at the beginning. The first full sentence doesn't quite make sense. That may be some typos, but no person shall permit or cause any dog or other animal in his or her custody, control, or ownership to be left outdoors, or other animal engages in periods. It just, I don't know what that means, but it doesn't flow properly. Am I guys following that?
You want to eliminate or other animals?
Well, I don't know.
Is it engages, it shouldn't be plural?
Should be engaged. I mean,
Engage.
no person. Outdoors. I'm not quite sure what that is actually trying to say in that sentence, but it doesn't make grammatical sense. So whatever it is, it has to be fixed. A couple of lines down from that, it talks about the disturbance of the quiet or any person or persons residing in the vicinity. How do we define the vicinity? Is it the next door neighbor? Is it down the block? Is it somebody who has very good hearing a couple blocks over? So I have an issue with that. There's language in that first paragraph as to dog pounds or kennels. Do we have dog pounds or kennels in the town?
Not present. Just in case of that.
Just in case? Okay.
You can eliminate that if you wanted.
No, I wasn't sure about that, but...
It's in your current code right now, so that's why we left it.
Okay.
But
I think that's going to cause problems if there's ever a dog kennel, but there isn't now, so we can leave it and then down the line. So, in that second paragraph, any person observing a violation is defined in A1. First of all, there's no A, so I'm not sure what A1 refers to. It calls for filing of a certification. What kind of a certification? What are the requirements of that certification?
usually that's the Board of Health would make that up. Because this would fall under the jurisdiction of the Board of Health, so they would create forms.
And what would be contained in those forms?
And I would do that with the Board of Health to make that, the Health Department to make that determination what should be in the forms.
But I also think A, B, C, and D answer that question.
To some extent, but why is there no need to identify the person making the complaint in this form?
There could be, and again, that would be up to the form.
I mean, otherwise, the way this is,
It's not going to be anonymous.
right, well, the way this is worded, it would allow for anonymous complaints without notice to owner that could have an ill consequence on the owner.
Not if the certification has a...
You're
if
assuming
it's a
that the
certification, it's
certification
certified.
isn't going to.
But there's no guidelines really as to what the certification is going to contain, and as Councilwoman Bastide pointed out, well, maybe it addresses A, B, C, and D, but there's no need to identify whoever is complaining in A, B, C, or D, so perhaps that's something we should also address in this. We talked about sending a notice for a violation. How are we sending the notice? Is it regular mail? Is it certified mail? Is it return receipt requested? Some other means? Is it personal delivery? How do we assure that the homeowner has received a notice of this? So that's a question I have. It talks about in that same paragraph, second to last line, a subsequent offense. Is there a time limit? If there's a dog that barks once this year and once 2 years from now, can that person be fined? We don't have that addressed here. In paragraph 3, any police officer, health official, or other person authorized to act on behalf of the Borough of Woodbridge. Who is authorized? What are we talking about? Are we talking about Madam Clerk? Are we talking about the town attorney? Are we talking about DPW? Are we talking about any police officer? And it's unclear as to who the other people authorized might be. And you know, lastly, I have an issue with the with or without prior notice. I think if we are talking about possibly finding somebody, possibly doing something that's going to affect somebody, I think it should always be with notice, not without notice. So I think that language should be taken out. I fail to see how there's going to be any sort of due process or investigation that is built into this.
Maybe you can ask the question too. This puts all the responsibility and onus on the health department, right, from what I understand. What happens if somebody calls the police? Is that, how does this, now, is it their obligation now to contact the health department to certify the violation?
You're in silence for that too, yeah?
What if a dog's barking at 10 o'clock at night? It would be the police that would get called.
But that does not, the ordinance does not provide for that. The ordinance provides for the health department.
Personally, I would think that they would always call the police, not the health department. Who would think to call the health department if the door's open?
You're not calling the health department, somebody can file their own notice of a violation with the health department. If somebody calls the police department, the police officer could go out there, and if he feels there's enough, he can then go under subsection 3. Or if you can advise them as to 2, that they can then go to the process of 2 and go to the health department the next day and file a certification and start the process.
That's another question. What if somebody owns 3 dogs? Dog A barks one day and dog B barks the second day. How is that addressed? Is it the same owner offense? Is it?
Well, I mean, I had this concern right from the beginning also, when we talk about putting these time periods of 15 consecutive minutes. So, if there's a pause of 10 seconds, does the clock start again? I mean, these are harder things to understand, but I think, ultimately, I think the intent would be then the judge will have to interpret these things if violations are made, but then he'll be writing the ordinance for us. And if that's what the council wants, then that's the way to proceed.
As my memo indicated, enforcement of noise ordinances is the hardest.
So let me ask you something. Under this ordinance, did a 10-year-old make this complaint?
I would say, again, if the Board of Health is filling out the certification, yes, probably no. It would be a minor to not fill out a complaint just in any...
But it just says file a certification, it doesn't say fill out a complaint.
Well, I'm just saying any minor would have to go through their guardian. It's like any complaint that's being filed would...
Shouldn't there be a time frame between the time and date of the offense versus the certification also?
Listen, you guys are getting really detailed into the ordinance about the procedure of it instead of leaving it up to the health. But yes, we can go into as detailed as you want it.
But there's no language in here directing
There's
no language here directing the health department to come up with rules and regulations.
Mayor Council gave me to model it after.
I'm not coming against.
No,
This is not an attack on you.
That's what I did. If you wanted it more, I would have preferred more direction. Say model it after this.
Well, I think it'd be more effective if the ordinance said this is the policy goal, and then we're going to the health department to come up with the rules and regulations, how this is going to be implemented, and then they can come back and we can adopt those rules and regulations. But to the councilman's point, I just think it's unenforceable.
I'm afraid that it is. I think it's like that other ordinance from that other town that we discussed, that there's no real teeth to it, and it's just in there.
It goes back to
I will tell you, most ordinances I found, as I put in my memo, enforcement of your own existing ordinance is almost impossible at this point.
Well, it is, because it's the 5 decibels at a property line or something like that. It's just, again, it's...
Well, I don't think there's any question that we need to amend our existing ordinance, and it has to be a little stronger. I think that also is...
Well, we're not talking about the ordinance itself, noise ordinance. We're specifically focusing on the dog part of it.
Well, I'm going to just represent the residents who have come to me that have asked for this type of modification to be made, have seen this, and feel that it is enforceable and is something that they would like to see us act upon. However, having said that, if we can come up with a compromise of asking the Board of Health to come up with a policy for certification, have them come back to us, and then we can address the ordinance. Is that putting the cart,
table it,
not putting the cart before the horse? I want to make sure that we have some residents who are living through some serious situations.
I know you all, I know.
And we need to be, and I happen to be in the vicinity, but I'm not party to these concerns, but I think we really need to provide some type of relief.
I would like to join with Councilwoman Steve in that something is better than nothing. Right now, what we have essentially is nothing. I see, I'm not a lawyer, but it would seem to me that the ordinance does implicitly direct the health department to come up with certification and procedure. If we feel we need to put it in, I guess if the majority of the council feel that we need to go forward with this. I also think that ultimately it's going to be for a municipal judge to determine its validity. We could speculate on it really forever. But until we create an ordinance and have it enacted, it would be tested by the court, and then if the court finds it to be lacking, then the court will inform us of that. But I think something is better than nothing, and...
Why wouldn't we do it right in the first place? Why wait until somebody else tells us that it's wrong? I mean,
I don't hear our borough attorney saying it's wrong. I think what I heard of borough attorney, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to let him speak, is that the way it's written gives the health department authority in 1 and 2, and 3, it gives the police department authority. Or did I misunderstand that, Mr. Solomon?
It's the health, you're giving the jurisdiction to the health department to take the complaint of the resident.
Right.
Eventually, it's not the health department that's going to file the complaint. It's going to be the resident that's going to eventually file the second step, which is the complaint with the court.
Okay.
Okay? But they're going to initially take the initial complaint, send out the notice through them. Second part is, if an officer comes up and observes this, he can issue a summons right on the spot. He doesn't need to go through the process.
So if he,
That's how I read
so if
that.
he,
but it doesn't say that. I mean,
It does.
where does it say that a person will issue the complaint? I see any police officer, health official, or other person authorized to act on behalf of the Borough of Riverhead to personally observe the commission of an offense of the
And also-
Section 8.1 shall be permitted to institute a complaint in municipal court with or without prior notice to the owner or the custodian of the dog. That doesn't say an individual homeowner. It says health official.
it also says that,
So it knows if this mayor and council wants to appoint somebody else to have that jurisdiction, you can, if you wanted to.
but I understand this part of the time, it says
What's that?
that upon certification, the health department will send a notice of violation to the homeowner, right? And then it says, advise if a subsequent offense should occur, a complaint may be filed in this court. So how does a resident go directly to the court if there's a subsequent offense?
Yeah, so basically your notice to the homeowner would be, if you're on notice, this is happening, correct it. Subsequent offense occurs, then a violation can be issued.
No.
Yes.
Upon receipt of certification,
Right.
the health department will then send a notice of violation to the owner,
Correct.
which shall inform the party of the offense alleged and advise that if a subsequent offense should occur, a complaint may be filed in the court. So
I'm missing what you're
Well, it doesn't-
concerned with.
what I'm saying is, you only go to the court after a second offense.
That's correct.
But if there's no mechanism for that.
The homeowner.
who's gonna make- Why can't they
complaint?
just do it from the first
You
complaint?
can't.
Not under this statute.
Yeah, you can't leave it to the health department.
Right, not under this
They're
ordinance.
not the witness.
That's right.
But not under this ordinance. Number 3, it says police officer, health official, or other person authorized to act on behalf of the Borough of Riverhead. It doesn't say anything about a homeowner.
Yes, 2 is homeowner, 3 is law enforcement.
Well, 2 talks about the certification. 3 talks about the complaint. There's
2
nothing in
talks
the complaint, in 2 about the complaint.
2 talks about any person observing a violation. So that's a resident.
That's how I read it.
3 talks about any police officer, health official. So you start with any person observing a violation. So if you observe a violation, go to 2, this is going to be your procedure.
But shouldn't section 3 only apply on a second offense?
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
No,
Yes.
because what if the police department saw it first?
Because that's not what number 2 says.
Yeah, but it's a different standard for an officer. Because you're going to ask an officer
It's because a
to...
lot, so if somebody calls the police,
Correct.
then it goes right to the court. But if I don't,
Correct.
it's not convoluted.
You're not going to ask an officer to go back out there a second time. He's going to issue it, just like your noise violation. The officer comes upon the scene, hears noise, he's not going to issue it. He's going to issue the noise violation right there. He's not going to give them, he can give them a warning. He's not going to say, hey, here's your warning. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little different for law enforcement.
let me ask you a question. I'm sorry. My dog barks when somebody comes to my front door. If the police comes to my front door with the idea of listening in, they're going to hear my dog bark as long as they're sitting there.
So, first the officer's coming to your door.
Right.
To deliver your packet and your dog barks and
Right.
he's going to issue a violation?
I mean,
Let's
maybe
give
not to
them
me,
a little
maybe-
bit more common sense.
How about you like somebody else in town who's not a councilman? Somebody who's had complaints or something else. I don't like these holes in this thing. I don't like this without notice.
If you're-
I don't understand how you can, I agree that this needs to be revised, and I'm all for doing something that's going to be effective. I do not think this will be effective. I'm an attorney for over 20 years, and I see holes in this that will not hold up in court.
But I will just say that having listened to residents for almost a year now complain that they don't understand how to get action taken for a homeowner that's has an incessant dog barking situation, this gives them the steps they need to take in order to have it addressed.
This gives them steps, and nothing's going to be addressed.
Well, they have that now under the they can make that complaint under the noise ordinance
It's
right
not
now.
clear.
You don't have that consecutive 15 minutes in New
It's
York.
not clear.
And that's what
But again,
the intent
what
is.
does that mean for section 15?
I told you all from the beginning, enforcement's going to be the hardest thing in whatever you decide to do. But let's go back. My suggestion would be, let's take the councilman's comments. Okay, let's do it the right way. Let's see if we can incorporate some of his concerns.
I'm not
I
saying this
agree
is
with
the
that.
wrong way. I don't think.
I don't agree with that. I think we should move it and put it to a vote.
Because I'm not sure I'm going to sign this ordinance.
I mean, the way it's written right now,
I don't want this
with
to hang over my
mistakes and
head.
everything, I don't know how you could even begin to sign this ordinance.
Well, Councilman, last time we brought this up and you objected to the 15 minutes. Is that the ultimate goal, to get rid of the 15
No, you
minutes?
can keep the 15 minutes, I really...
So you just want to clean up the language?
I want an ordinance that works, and this is not an ordinance that
But
works.
since we
We're
only
replacing a
meet
broken ordinance with another
Once
broken
in
ordinance.
August, and then we'd meet in September. You're saying that you would work with our borough attorney, it would have to come before the council in August, it would then have to be moved as a first motion, first reading in the beginning of September, and a second at the end of September. Are you saying that you're open to that?
I mean, I'm certainly open to that. I mean, I'm being vilified here for looking
No, I'm not.
out for
I'm
us,
just-
and I'm not appreciative.
No, because, last time your objection was the 15 minutes, now your objection is the language. I'm
No,
okay
my
with
objection
it.
was always the language. As a matter of fact, I had a meeting with Councilwoman Mosquito outside, and we talked about the without notice.
Yeah, I misunderstood,
So
and I
that was my
apologize.
objection. But that being said, we're about to vote this in, which is I'm raising, I've carefully written it, made myself little red notes so that I can find them easily.
I think that to get it right, there should be some input from the health department and the police. The police are going to have to deal with this also and get some input from the police as how they will respond to this, because they need to have a consistent response policy also. I said I'm not in favor of passing ordinances that are going to be problematic. But there's a motion and there's a second.
So if we move to table it, would that be the appropriate motion, Mr. Sarlo, or should we?
Yeah, if you're going to reintroduce it, because there'll be substantial changes probably to it. So.
I don't know that they're so substantial. I mean, there are changes to protect the...
Well, there's no substantial in the technical sense where we have to reintroduce
You're
it.
not going to, if you make any changes to it, you're going to have to vote first and second. You can't just amend this and go to a second.
You'll have two meetings.
I think there's what your concerns are would be enough to substantially change the ordinance that would require a first and second. Maybe not. If you want to table it and...
I make a motion to
Can we
table.
knock this down first and then table?
We'll take no action on it, we'll
Okay.
just...
Well, we're gonna, someone have to withdraw their motion.
Yeah, because we have that motions on the table.
Who made the motion?
I didn't make it.
Can I make it?
Yes.
I withdraw the motion.
Withdraw the second.
We'll change it around.
Do we need to table now, or simply to withdraw now?
Let's go.
Okay.
We have resolutions 19-255 to 19-262 and 19-264 with the added from work session. Proposed to be approved by consent. Does any member of council want to poll for separate discussion or vote any of these resolutions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt them by consent. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Kaufman, will you please read and move 19-263, payment of the bills?
Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account $606,264.92. Capital account $21,033.82. Recreation account $1,352.45. Animal welfare account $11.40. Trust other account $1,553.33. Open space account $8,424.11. Trust other developers account $3,672.50. Be it further resolved that claims read and approved by the governing body at a council meeting will be dated the day after the reading of those claims and will appear on the following bill list at the next public meeting of the mayor and council, at which time claims would be paid. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chief Pretty has asked if he could make a special presentation. Chief?
Thanks, Mayor.
On June 26th, I had the opportunity to attend the New Jersey State Traffic Officers Association that was being held in Atlantic City. And at that meeting, there were recipients from around the state who had been recognized as having the designation of a New Jersey Traffic Safety Specialist, Level 1. This is a program that's been around about 11 years now, and from the Traffic Safety Specialist designation, it's a statewide recognition of police officers who attained notable experience, education, training, and proficiency in highway safety, traffic enforcement methods, and procedures. The New Jersey Traffic Safety Specialist program promotes highway safety among police officers, as well as provides a mechanism for support and acknowledgement and recognition of the prestige among officers who have achieved advanced levels in their training proficiency. Officers that are assigned traffic units and have, in addition to their regular training, have to achieve at least 30 credit hours of additional specialized training to qualify for this recognition. And I was able to pick up at that meeting, Officer Pat Diamond was recognized from the River Edge Police Department as having attained the Level 1 designation, and I was very proud to have accepted the recognition and certification for him that day. He couldn't be in attendance. I was there for another conference and was fortunate enough to be able to attend. So I'd like to call Officer Diamond up and present him with the New Jersey Traffic Safety Specialist certification for Level 1 designation, which was issued on the 26th of June by the state of New Jersey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, officer. Congratulations, officer. Well deserved. Okay.
Now it's my turn?
Yes, Councilwoman Bristol.
Thank Cheryl and James for being patient while we had that exchange. So it's my privilege as Council President to have an opportunity to recognize Mayor Edward Mignone, who will be vacating that chair in the very near future and embarking on a very exciting change for him and his family. So Ed and I first started working together in 2013-14, but you were first elected to the council in 2011, correct? Prior to that, served on the planning board and really exemplifies what it means to be a public servant with no agenda of his own, but the agenda to make the borough of Riveredge the best it can be for all of the residents that are here. So you should consider yourselves all very fortunate that we've had a person of his caliber professionally and personally to represent you here in the borough. The example of our exchange that we've had here regarding the dog barking is a perfect example about how we all strive to, though we disagree, to not be disagreeable. And I think all of us sitting up here on the dais, whether we've served with Ed, like Tom has for 9 years, or myself 6, and others a shorter amount of time, Ed has always striven to create that atmosphere among us of not being concerned about disagreeing with one another, but not being disagreeable at the end of the day, to always do what is in the best interest of the residents of Riveredge. He is also a steadfast supporter of all of our borough employees. I know that they would all say that he does have their best interests at heart all the time as well, and I hope the staff realizes how lucky they were to have him be an elected official to help their needs as well. Our volunteers, he has always said that we have the best volunteers in all of the state of New Jersey to support our residents, and I think everyone here in the council agrees, but he's always made an effort and a point to recognize the volunteers in our community who do such great work for the borough. So it is my privilege to present Mayor Edward Mignone. Do you want to come down so we get on TV? And I don't know if Cheryl and James, you want to join us? I'm going to go this way. And I'm sure the rest of the council will have things they'd like to share in council comments. So it's my pleasure as council president to present to Edward J. Mignone, who was a councilman from 2011 to 2015 and mayor from 2016 through 2019. Giving to a leader whose professionalism and hard work earn the respect of his fellow elected officials, employees, and residents. His accomplishments and contributions will serve borough residents long into the future, given in grateful recognition for his dedicated service from all of the council of 2019.
Thank you. Now we'll see how far I can get through my speech. Thank you. There are two things about life I've learned over the past year and a half. Sometimes storms are not meant to disrupt your life, but rather to clear your path. And that difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. So the Mignones will continue our journey through life in the great state of Utah. While it's sad to leave the community of which we've been a part of nearly 2 decades, we're excited and optimistic for our future. I'm going to have to cut this short. It's been an honor to serve as the borough as a councilman for 5 years, as mayor for the past 3.5. While I leave with much unfinished business, I also leave with great satisfaction and pride in the state of our town, which by many measures is in a much greater place today than it was when I seated on the council in 2011. Recall the financial standing of the borough was perilous. We had seen employees furloughed, services cut, our fund balance dwindled to less than $100,000. Today, we have been able to, through our strong financial management, the council and I have been able to implement debt limiting policies for these surplus funds, and we have almost $4 million in fund balance today. I'm proud that we do not have 200 units of Avalon Bay at the Newbridge Landing train station, that we do not have a 9-story parking garage there. In fact, today we had a meeting with a potential developer for the Johnson Avenue site, which I'm pleased to announce that will not have any residential component and will be a very good addition to the Borough River Edge. I'm pleased that after 10 years of discussion and discourse, the former American Legion building has been now raised, and we have a rational and responsible plan for the development of a community space that can be used for residents of all ages and provide a place for our senior citizens to gather, socialize, share meals and camaraderie, enhance their quality of life. It's been long overdue. I'm excited for the great and expansive opportunities for recreation, educational, and leisure activities the center will provide for generations now and in the future. In terms of connectivity and transparency, we're ready to bring out a vastly improved website. As I mentioned tonight, we're the first time ever we're airing this meeting live on local government access television. We're not quite up to speed on all our technical components, but hopefully one day all of the boards, committees, and commission meetings can be recorded and broadcast. While most of us choose to serve in some capacity, in public capacity, are fairly subject to criticism and critique, it doesn't mean our critics can be subject us to slanderous accusations and blatant disrespect, such as seen on social media, who refer to some of our council people as rats and liars and make scurrilous accusations about corruption based on unknown sources. Unfortunately, too few call out these muckrakers and demand that opinions be supported with actual facts from the public records. I'm hoping that with the TV, we have unfiltered, direct communication between us and the residents, and it can only be for the greater good. I'm disappointed I will not be in office to see the groundbreaking for the new Kevin Wright Museum at the historic Newbridge Landing site. I think that this cultural and educational asset can be a catalyst and spur new development in the South End. I've also been around local government in both an appointed, elected, and professional capacity long enough to know that no one individual is irreplaceable. That being said, however, there are those who serve and who have significant and profound impacts on public policy and make lasting impact. It's been an honor and privilege to have worked with some of these individuals, such as our former Borough Administrator Alan Negrian, our late Public Works Superintendent John Lynch, my friend and colleague, the late Vito Acalfreda, and former Councilman Al Bartoloni. Over the past 10 years, I've been proud to participate in significant personnel decisions that were presented to us, including replacing our previous fantastic borough clerk, Denise Don Diego, with our current great clerk, Stephanie Evans, filling over half the ranks of the patrol officers in the PD with great men and the first woman officer in the department's history, overseeing sergeant and lieutenant promotions. Our strategic hiring of Carolyn Baldanza as our Director of Recreation and Cultural Affairs, and most recently promoting Jason Melito to fill the huge proverbial big shoes of John Lynch as DPW Superintendent. Hiring a future CFO, and the most daunting challenge of finding a new borough administrator, Ray, who has already shown himself capable enough to the challenge. It's been a pleasure to serve and work with all of the department heads and employees. I'm indebted to our clerk, Stephanie Evans, and Deputy Clerk Judy O'Connell for keeping me on track and helping in innumerable ways. They are always supportive and always there for whoever and for whatever I asked. Special thanks to this man on my left, Borough Attorney Tom Sarlo. Although you were appointed by my predecessor, I'm glad to have served alongside you. Your advice has been fair and insightful, and thank you for your counsel and friendship. I would like to personally acknowledge everyone, but not to forget But so as not to forget any one individual, I'll just thank everyone who works for the borough or who volunteers for the borough in any capacity. Having fantastic employees and selfless volunteers makes our jobs as elected officials much easier, and you are the reason why River Edge is the community, the community we love so much. I'd like to thank my current council colleagues. Thank you for the respect and courtesy afforded to me when I was the political minority on the council. Over my term of mayor, I thank you for your respect and the effective professional working relationship I feel I've developed with each of you. Especially thank Councilwoman Bastille for her support, insight, and friendship, especially over the last 2 years as she served as council president. You've made me a better mayor, and I would go out on a limb to say that we have not, if had one, if not the most productive and collaborative partnerships to advance the interests of the residents, and have shown that good governance is really what makes good politics. I was looking forward to presenting my record of service and accomplishments to the voters of River Edge this fall. Whether I would have been reelected or forced into political retirement would have been, in the end, irrelevant. I've had a privilege and an honor only known to fewer than 19 men and 1 woman since 1893. The honor of being elected and serving as mayor of the borough of River Edge. I leave this town and the office of mayor humbled by the trust and faith placed in me by my fellow residents to ensure their safety, to be the responsible steward of their hard-earned tax dollars, to stabilize taxes so those who grow up here can afford to return to their hometown to raise their own families. This is still commonplace and possible in River Edge, whereby increases in housing costs and taxes make that impossible in neighboring communities. I've tried to be an advocate and protector of our collective quality of life and for balancing the private property rights of our citizens with public needs and protect them from government overreach. For the past 8.5 years, there's not been a morning that I have awoken and not been mindful of my solemn obligation, duties, and responsibilities to the people of River Edge. Thank you again for allowing me to play a small role in help writing the story of our beloved borough. I'd be remiss if I didn't extend a public thank you to my wife Cheryl and my boys Edward and James. Cheryl has been a classy and gracious First Lady and my #1 advisor and confidant. She was the one who had faith when I was doubtful, the one who provided encouragement when I faltered, the one who sacrificed having me at home so I could fully immerse myself in a role that I loved and deeply enjoyed, but also to give me the blunt criticism and reality check when I needed it. I thank my boys for their patience and accepted understanding that the reality of having a father who is mayor involves personal and family sacrifices that they made for me. I hope that through my service, they've come to see public service as a noble cause, and that it is possible for one person to truly make a difference in people's lives. So again, I thank you very much. I have enjoyed being your mayor, and I hope that has been evident by my words, deeds, and actions. God bless you all, and may God continue to bless the borough and residents of River Edge. Thank you. Didn't seem so hard when I read it to myself. Motion open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Open to the public for any comments, questions, mocking. Yes, Peggy.
I'm not coming up there. I've enjoyed this for too long. And just, I'm yelling at the borough, really, for this That's, like, first of all, I don't know why anybody wanted to take down the meeting before the July 14th parade. Should have thought that they would have waited for me, because it created such havoc with 3 o'clock. And the other thing is, with the way the parking was, all the streets had no parking, no parking, no parking. I recognize I and a lot of senior citizens and handicapped people bring their chairs down early in the morning. I had brought my chairs down at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I went to church and came back from church and looked for a place to park. And there was no place to park near my water down, almost. And so it was very difficult for me to think about all the people who didn't come out before. We didn't have to go. So something has to change about that, I think.
I'm sure there probably could have been better planning with that regard, but the schedule is kind of tight, and the demolition is part of the critical path of the project. So the timing is the timing, regardless. It's unfortunate the way it fell within the holidays. The intent is to have this work done by the end of the summer, and although a week may not seem like a significant amount of time, it could push the schedule. So now we're into the start of school, and that's not something that we wanted to do with the construction. There's still in any event, the parking lot still would have been inaccessible because they were going to still use it for storage of materials, and they were doing open work with drainage and sewer also. So the site would have had to be closed off whether the building was down or not.
I just had to let the town know that there were a lot of people complaining.
No, I hear.
They were saying to me, hang on, where did you go? How did you get there? And what happened? And the other thing I want to say is thank you for being such a good mayor for the time you've been here. We always have had good mayors and county commissioners. Yes, I'm sure there are things that everybody has to say about this or that or the other. But this past couple of years has been very organized and together. And that's the one thing that I really, like, you didn't think chair was Republican or Democrat. It was council together. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Bob Nyman, 27-year resident of River Edge, and I too want to join in everybody giving accolades to our outgoing mayor, Ted Mignone. Worked with him on many, many levels, party level, planning committee, the zoning committee, and in numerous types of different things. And he's an extremely knowledgeable person, and he's extremely effective, and I think he's going to be a very, very tough act to follow. He set the bar pretty high, but I know everybody up there is going to be able to rise to that level. And I want to thank you personally, and on behalf of lots and lots of people in the town, say thank you very much and Godspeed.
Thanks, Bob. Get your 15 minutes while you can get it.
You've had to do this to me twice, so, and I have 2 of those plaques. You only have 1. But you weren't lucky enough to win, lose, win, lose. So, God, it's 9 years ago. I didn't know Ed, but they tell me there's this guy Ed, and you're going to run with him. So, okay, sounds fine, whatever. And we walked this whole town so many times, and I came to learn that we had so much in common, and in recent years even more than we previously knew. A couple years back, Cheryl called me on the phone and thought it was funny because Ed told her to say it.
but she said, Ed died. And I was like, oh my God, my heart dropped. And I was a mess that day. I was like, oh my God. And then he got on the phone and he was like, I was like, that's not funny. And a couple months ago, Ed sends me a text message. He says, I want to talk to you about the campaign. I'm like, okay. He's like, I want to come over. Okay. I figure he wants to talk about the campaign. And then Cheryl's at the door with him. And they're telling me we're moving to Utah. And I got that same feeling. My heart stopped, and because even though you're very much alive, I'm losing one of my best friends, and that's who you've been to me. One of my best friends, one of my best confidants. Part of me thought when you said you wanted to talk about the campaign that you were going to say, I want you to run with me again. And you're the only person I would actually even contemplate stepping into that arena again for. But I'm going to miss you very, very much. It's a 2 hour difference?
2 hours.
2 hours, all right. So I have to wait a little bit later in the morning to call you and text you. But what you've done for this town, and I really don't know if people will ever understand or ever really appreciate it, because you exemplified governing over politics. You had a vision, you had an agenda, and you saw it through, just like we're seeing here today. It's not an exaggeration when you say 10 years to get this on TV, or to see the community center finally break ground. That takes a level of dedication that I don't think many people possess. And so you moving away is a tremendous loss to me personally, but to the people of River Edge. So I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done for this town, and just for being my friend.
Anybody else? Motion to close to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Council comments? Councilman Carlton.
Just want to say it's been a short time, but it's been a great pleasure to work with you. I think you've done such a great job. That's all.
Thanks.
After one of my first council meetings, I started speaking to you. When we were leaving, walking to our park, I had a million questions, and I decided to ask you one of them. And you decided to take the time to help me out and answer it. And that question turned into a conversation that lasted about an hour and a half, 2 hours, if you remember. It didn't matter that I was from another party, or that you hardly knew me. You took that time to help me. And I'll always remember that. And I thank you for it. And I thank you for everything you've done for the people of River Edge, and everything you've done for all of us. And best of luck to you, your journey.
Thank you. Councilman?
Ed, it's been 8 years. It's been a good 8 years. Very good 8 years. And you have been an honorable man, an honorable politician. I've been grateful to work with you, and I'm sad to see you go. When I first got on the council, there was a lot of acrimony, and I wanted to work towards a more collegiate environment. And I was speaking to you, and I was speaking to Paul, and I said, could we reorganize the way we have our seats?
so that we don't have one party on one side and one party on the other side. And you and Al and Paul and all agreed to that. And then when we came to the ambulance corps annual dinner, I said to you, can we all sit together? And you were like, yes, I was going to say the exact same thing to you. And we all squeezed together at one table. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this is a good moment. This is a great moment. And this will be hopefully emblematic of us going forward, and it was. Campaigns are partisan, but governing is nonpartisan. And you have governed in a nonpartisan way. I'm proud to have worked with you. I'm sorry to see you go. And I wish you the best. And Cheryl, I wish you and the boys the best. God bless you both.
Again. My comments were, as council president, I'll just take a moment just personally to thank you, Ed. We started our professional relationship as competitors on the ballot in 2013, but from the moment, even throughout that entire election, there was civility, there was a focus on what we wanted to do for the borough, not attacking the other person, and I want to thank you for that. And I wish you, Cheryl, James, and Edward all the best in this new journey. I'm very excited for you, and if I had the authority to give you a key to the borough, I would. So just accept, whether I have the authority or not, you have a key to the borough. We hope that when you do visit your family, that you'll let us know you're going to be in town, because we would love to catch up in person and hear about all the wonderful, exciting things happening with you and your family. So best of luck.
Thank you. Another one?
Well, I will not forgive you that you brought me to this council kicking and screaming. I have not a political bone in my body, and I never wanted to be here. And you're leaving, and I'm still here. I have a real problem with that. However, I remember you saying to me, we need you. We need somebody to bring us all together. Well, it turns out you brought us all together. I might have helped a little bit, but you did. And it's been an absolute honor working with you, and you've worked tirelessly for this community. And as often happens, people appreciate you more after you're gone, and I know that the people of River Edge will absolutely appreciate all that you have done for all of us. Thank you. And to Cheryl and the boys, good luck. Family always comes first, and God bless you all.
Last. All right. You're a terrific man. You're the only mayor I've ever worked with. But if every mayor out there was like you, I think this entire country would be in much better shape. I've learned a lot from you. I thank you for your patience, for your non-partisanship, for putting the borough first, for sacrificing your and your family time in our favor. Sitting here on the dais, we know how difficult it is. I would imagine it's twice or three times as difficult to be mayor. You have put in time, effort, have been honorable the entire way. I'm a much better person for having known you and having sat here next to you. And I thank you for your service. And I wish you all the best of luck, and hopefully I'll be out to Utah someday and come see you guys. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. When you have the privilege of serving the borough, it's great. When you work with mayor and council, that's professional and know what they're doing. You develop professional relationships with everybody. But every now and then, you step outside of the professional relationship and you form a friendship. And I knew when I got that coveted invitation to your Christmas party, and you welcomed me into your home, I knew that the friendship developed. And for that, I'm grateful for. So good luck in your future endeavors.
Any other comments, business? I've said enough. And if I knew it was going to be this much of a mess, I would have made Nick take the next meeting, not just for posterity. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Oh, just so tomorrow, we have our dedication of John Lynch Way. We are renaming Riverside Way for the late John Lynch. We will have a brief ceremony at noon, and there will be lunch provided afterward. I'm sorry for the short notice. There was some mix-up on when we thought the schedule was going to be, but I believe John's wife and children are coming. So, and we did it in the middle of the day. We wanted to make sure maximize the potential for the DPW people to be there. So that's why we did it during the middle of the day rather than in the evening. So anyone's around for that tomorrow, come to the public. Come down around noon down by DPW and meet all. So for the last time, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Adjourn.